In this video, I'll be giving you a super quick tutorial on how you can create custom tools for your GPTs and for your AI agents without writing any code. This method is using Makecom and connecting them to your GPT via a webhook and just using a super simple prompt template to create the OpenAI schema that you need to connect them. Right, so jumping into it, the no-code platform you're going to be building your tools on is of course Makecom. I've talked about this a lot on the channel before. It is my personal favorite automation platform, and I think it's got a really good graphical editor so that you can drag it around, very beginner friendly, but also allows you to get really good at it over time and build some very complex things. So the skill you're about to learn now is going to be not only valuable for your GPTs, but also in how you can use Make.com to automate workflows and sell those services to other people as well. So Make.com, be a link down below if you can't type in Make.com if that's a struggle, but you want to create an account, and I'm going to log into mine here. And then what we want to do is create a new scenario up here. Now that we have our new scenario, we can head over and go to the ChatGPT site, and we can create a new GPT and sort of lay the bones for what we're going to connect to this. So you get a little bit more context on what we're doing here. So explore GPTs, you'll need ChatGPT Plus to do this, $20 a month. We're going to create a new GPT. I'm going to call this an email assistant. So the example I'm going to use in this tutorial is allowing us to send emails from our GPT using an automation that we put on Make. So first we'll go in here, send emails for us via Makecom Custom Action. When the user asks you to send an email, use the send email operation. So that's the custom action we're referring to that we're going to put in a second. Meow. That's the technical name that OpenAI uses for a tool or a custom action. So use the send email operation and ask the user for the email of the recipient and the email message, then figure out the subject line yourself. So that should be it. We want this conversation started to be send email. I send an email. So now that we've got the bones laid there, you know what we're going to be building. We can head over to, let's get a little bit of an image going here. I always feel like it isn't complete until you've put an image on it. So now we can head back to Make, and we can actually lay this thing out. So first thing is going to be a webhook. This is going to be how our GPT can actually interact with our Make.com scenario. Scenario is what this whole kind of like automation is called in Make. So we want to click a custom webhook here, and we want to add a new webhook. I'm going to call this Make Tutorial for GPTs. You can call it whatever you want, probably something to do with the GPT that you're creating. And then we're going to go OK. And then we want to add another module. In this case, as I said, we're going to be doing a send an email capability. So we're going to go Gmail, send an email. And you can see that we have 3 fields here. So this is the information that we need to capture from our user or fill in some of them ourselves. As you saw in the prompt, I said for the subject line, don't expect the user to provide that. We can figure it out. I want the GPT to figure it out from the content and the message here. We need to get the email and the content from the user, and the GPT is going to figure out the subject. So in order to get the information in here, as you can see here, we need to be able to put some kind of variable in here, right? We need to have some placeholders that have taken it from the webhook and placed it in there. But I won't be able to get that information until we've done a test fire. We need to test fire this webhook from our GPT here. There we go, nice picture. So in order to do that, we need to create our OpenAI schema and add it in as a custom action down here. I want to give a quick shout out to Chris Lannon here. It was actually this video that I saw that gave me the idea for this video. So thank you, Chris. You beat me to it by about 3 months, I think. And in this video, Chris shared a GPT action schema creator, which we're going to use in this video, which I found is quite helpful. And there's also a template for a Make.com OpenAI schema that we're going to be using as well. So Chris, thank you for the work that you put into this. I appreciate it, and my community does as well. So in here, we can say, create me a schema. It's going to ask me for a bunch of information. And we can sort of shortcut it here. I say, here is the template I'm using. And now going back to what I mentioned, we want to include in the schema that we need these 3 fields. So to, subject, and content. If I go back, I want to copy this. While we're at it, copy this. We want to bring this over. We can say, here is my webhook URL. Here are the inputs this tool requires. And then you put in the inputs of recipient email address, subject line, email body. So those are the 3 things that the Gmail is requiring. And this is the webhook URL. And what it's basically going to do is look through this template we've got and replace things like, okay, what's the summary of the action? Okay, what's parameter 1? In this case, it'll be the recipient email address. Parameter 2 is going to be for the subject line, and parameter 3 is going to be for the email body. So if we enter this, it's going to modify that to our needs, and you can take the same process. A link to Chris's GPT here, and also the template included, will be available on my free resource hub on School. So if you're not already a member of my School, it's a free community where you can get all the resources that are attached to my videos, but more importantly, engage in the discussion and be in the loop on all the AI solutions that my community is selling successfully to business owners. Really just get closer to the action in terms of the AI space of people who are trying to build businesses and make money. So if you're not already a member of the School community, it's down there, it's free. And on there, if you go to the YouTube tab, there'll be a post for this video, and in it will be a link to the GPT Action Schema Creator here, and also the template. So you can continue to reuse that, use the same kind of structure that I just provided, where you can paste the template in, you provide your Make.com webhook URL, and then you provide the inputs that are necessary, and then it will generate you the schema for it. Oh, it's giving me a bit of back chat here. What I like to do is add to the bottom of this, fill in the rest of the field yourself as best as possible, and modify this template to use the URL and inputs I've provided. I didn't really tell it what to do there. So there we have our webhook URL being filled in. Operation ID is called send email. Good. First parameter is recipient email. Yep. The second parameter is subject line. And the third one is email body. Might help you debug these in future if you know how to read them a little bit. So we have the name of the operation and the parameters that we expect as inputs. Now we can take this, copy it, head back to our GPT, paste it in, and because we're using a Make webhook, we don't need to do any authentication. So this is why I particularly like this method for beginners, because authentication can get a little bit tricky in writing these schemas as well. So what we can do now is head back. I like to give it a refresh just to make sure it's properly set up. And then we can click on send an email here. And what we need to do is determine the data structure within Make. We haven't filled in these variables yet with placeholders. That's because we need to call this first, and we need to send some real data to this webhook so that it knows what to expect and we can use them as variables within Make. Sounds complicated, but I promise it's not. All we need to do here is say, okay, set the to field. It's trying to call the tool here. It's asking for the email address and the message we'd like to send. So to mike@gmail.com. Message. You the bomb, man. I miss you so much. Wayno. Before I hit enter on that, I want to go back to the webhook. I want to click redetermine data structure. Make sure that's underway, and then I send this. It's going to ask me to approve the action. Yep. So it's starting to try and send and communicate with our webhook. Then we can see it's trying to send it to mike@gmail. Subject line missing you, which it's figured it out, which is great. And the email body. So if I allow and I go back, this should change to successfully determine data structure, which is exactly what we want. Give it a second. Boom. Successfully determined. And that means that Make has gone, okay, this structure that you sent, I now know what to expect, and I can give you these to use within Make. So this is really the key step, and it can be difficult for beginners sometimes, but I hope that it's been simple enough. I've had to refilm this once just to make sure I do it a little bit clearer. So the email has been sent. We're all good. Back over here. Now we have the information that's arrived within Make. I'm going to save it. Sometimes I need to play around with this a little bit, but if you refresh it, it should have loaded in and we can use it within our Gmail. And then we can give this one final test and we're all done. Sometimes you have a bit of issue with the variables popping up like this. So if these aren't popping up for you, easy fix that I've found is if you can unlink these, unlink the two, and then you just click on the run once. It's going to be waiting, and I can just say, let's send email again. And it's going to send some live data again. Give it a second. And this should be a little tick in a second. Oh, and this has come through. We can see that we've got the data that's come through, all good here. And now when we connect these up, I click on this and go, there we go. Subject line, we can fill that in. Content is email body, add a recipient email. And now we have mapped the variables from the input that our tool is expecting, from the inputs that it's taking from the GPT, and it's successfully mapped it in that it can easily slide those variables from the webhook directly into the Gmail. So once that's all set up, I'm going to turn this scheduling on. We go back a step, save the changes. So now with the scheduling on, this means this is awaiting any new data. With anything in Make that has this lightning bolt, it fires as soon as new data comes in. So as soon as that webhook is fired by our GPT, it's going to run that process again. So now I can get my phone out And I can give this a proper test. If I go save, I'm going to make this a little private one. I'm going to view it on the big screen, and I go send an email. I'm going to get my phone out, see if I can get an email from myself. I go into my Gmail app here. And if I go to send an email to and say, hey man, what happened to our meeting? Did you change the time? From Greg. Okay, so we give that a second. Oh, and if we go back to here, we should see that it pings, it fires. We're going to always allow it. Talk to the hook. Oh, boom, boom. So these little bubbles mean that it's done something. So we receive the information here, and then it sent the email off here. From blah, 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 etc. Sent it off. And up here, if I refresh, meeting time inquiry, and I've got my email there as expected. So that's how you can integrate a Make.com scenario as a tool. This is something I wanted to introduce to you all because I know many of you use Make from watching my videos. Make's a great thing. You can do some really complex automations on here. So once you've built up your skills on Make, you can transfer those over to creating custom tools for your GPTs. And as someone who doesn't know how to code, or you're not really too familiar with building your own custom tools, this can be a great way to not only build them in a fairly simple system for connecting them via a schema, as it doesn't require any fancy authentication. So this system that I just showed you here of providing the inputs, providing the webhook URL, asking it to modify the template. Again, all of this will be on my free resource hub, and thank you to Chris for the information that he's shared and this GPT in particular. So that's about all for the video. Let me know down below if you found this helpful. I definitely did, and I'll be using this in some of my future videos. But aside from that, if you're interested in learning the easiest way that I've found to use pre-made tools and connect them to your GPT so that you don't even need to do the building step, I've just done a complete video on the Appify platform here, which is great for using pre-built tools using other people's hard work. So highly recommend you watch that. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.